Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Recycled Content, a podcast of the Association of Plastic Recyclers, an international nonprofit and the only North American organization focused exclusively on improving recycling for plastics. I'm your host, Kara Pochiro. Launched in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the APR Design Guide for Plastics Recyclability, the APR Recycling Leadership Awards recognize packaging designers, manufacturers, researchers, or innovators who are improving recycling for plastics. This is the third podcast in a series about our winners, and today we are talking with Darren Scholl of KW Container, the winner of the PCR Utilization Award. KW Container, with its sister company KW Plastics, pioneered recycling polypropylene into paint containers at scale, championing the curbside recycling stream for polypropylene in North America. Historically, PET and HDPE bottles were the predominant plastic resins collected in residential recycling programs. Today, KW Plastics is the leading recycler of HDPE and polypropylene in North America, and KW Container's product line incorporates leading-edge technology, delivering a user-friendly container that proves how recycled materials can produce a superior product. Darren Scholl is the Director of Manufacturing at KW Container. A U.S. Navy veteran, Darren is a graduate of Hanover College in Indiana. His over 30 years experience in plastics includes 15 with Nipro Inc., one of the largest custom injection molders. He brought his expertise to the paint and coatings industry by joining KW Container in 2007. He is a member of the Society of Plastics Engineers and Mid-America Plastic Partners, Inc., and the American Society for Quality. Thanks to Darren for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to answering the questions and participating in the podcast.
Great. KW Plastics Recycling Division, and KW Container are a group of companies affiliated with Wiley Sanders truck lines that keep everything connected from recycling to manufacturing to delivery. Tell us, how do these companies work together?
Well, it's really sort of like a closed loop system. If you think about Wiley Sanders truck lines, they'll bring in our plastic bales, our scrap material. And once it gets delivered here, obviously we unload it and turn that into a usable product, in this case, our pellets for our paint cans. And once we made them into paint cans, then we deliver them all to our customers, and we sort of start the cycle over again. It really is a closed loop system from the scrap material to the delivery of the finished product. And luckily, we supply paint cans to all the major paint companies in the United States, and we pick up plastic all over the United States. So it really works out well for us, because usually a van truck could just leave from delivering paint cans to picking up plastic scrap at the next stop.
You mentioned that you develop a plastic pellet that then goes into your paint cans, but it also goes into other products as well. Before we get back to those paint cans, which actually is what KW Container was recognized for this award, just tell us quickly about some of the other products at KW Plastics.
We generated about 425 pounds of recycled plastic last year, both of HDPE and polypropylene. On the polypropylene side, you might go buy a kitty litter box at the store for your cat, and that's made out of our material. Obviously, 5-gallon pails. We recycle a lot of batteries, and it goes right back to the battery companies to make batteries out of. There's a wide variety of product. We also have an FDA material that if you go to the store and your husband uses the Axe deodorant sticks, that black deodorant stick, it's also made out of recycled material. So there's really a wide variety of our product that goes into most of it goes in at 1%. Containers a little different. We're 100% our material, but most other companies are somewhere between 25 and 50%.
Wide variety of applications for this material, but let's get back to those paint cans. KW Plastics is the first company to recycle polypropylene at scale in the United States, and you've managed to turn that post-consumer material into a desirable product that competes with traditional paint cans. Tell us about the different paint can products that are manufactured at KW Container.
Well, our largest container is a gallon, and we do a lot with that gallon. We have a lot of different lid varieties, and we got a pour spout lid and a plain lid, and we put labels on the lids and stuff like that. And then we also go to a quart. And our most recent development is what we call a sample jar, which if you go to Lowe's or primarily in the Ace Hardware stores, Benny Moore is our biggest customer for this sample jar. And we just developed that product. It is in a gray polypropylene body at this time. So that's our newest product, anywhere from a gallon size down to an 8-ounce sample jar.
You talked about a few different sizes, a few different types of product. And KW paint cans are not only made with recycled content, but they are also fully recyclable. What are some of the design modifications that KW has made over the years from your original plastic metal hybrid paint container before expanding your product line into an all plastic container? And why were these changes important?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you have to understand the industry a little bit. Everything in the industry was designed around that gallon can, which you see in a metal or a hybrid. We had to develop a can that mirrored that product because all the shakers in the stores, all the fillers in the paint plants, they're all geared around that design of can. We had to come up with a design that would enable us to enter the market without the market having to recapitalize itself. It was a big undertaking, and then they're not any different than any other market. They wanted innovation. We had to come up with some new ideas that you currently can't get in a hybrid can or a metal can, which is where our pour spout design came out.
It's important that all the components are plastic, that they can be recycled. I know that in the past, a lot of buckets, paint cans, things like that, and we still see them on the market today, of course, have those metal handles and other metal components, which can really cause a problem in the recycling stream.
That's correct. I mean, if you look at the hybrid can, if you go into the Canadian market, there's a penalty for buying a hybrid can because it's not recyclable as is. You just can't take it, throw it. You have to remove the metal ring. You have to remove the metal bale. There's actually a sort of a tariff, if you want to think of it that way, on that can in Canada because it's not recyclable. The other thing is when we did our labeling on the lid, our IMO labeling, it was important that label was polypropylene because also a lot of labels out there in the marketplace, you got to get them off before you can recycle the product. Our product being a IML lid, when you see that label on that lid, that label is 100% polypropylene. It could just go right in the recycle bin with the can and everything else.
This goes right along with something that we always talk about with manufacturers being their own suppliers. So if you make products with recycled content, you want to manufacture products that are fully recyclable and can actually go back into that same product or into other products as well. That's great to hear that you all made those changes, that it could be fully recyclable, all of the different components.
Yeah, I think that's important. We want to be able to get the best scenario is start getting all these gallon cans back to us or quart cans or sample jars or whatever. So we can start getting that back and then we become a true cradle to grave company, right? I mean, we made it out of recycled and now we're recycling what we're making. There's a lot of movement. We're going with Paint Care, a company called Paint Care in the industry, because one of the things that we can't is have the paint in it. I think everybody goes to their garage and has a paint can in their garage that still has paint in it. And we have to remove the paint first. There are a lot of companies starting up that are going to recycle paint, and that's really helping our market a lot.
I know I have a lot of paint cans in my garage full of paint. So to have a resource for those and somewhere we could take those to both recycle the paint and the container, that would be really great. KW Container's product line has consumed over 1 billion pounds of curbside collected polypropylene over the last 14 years. These high volumes and consistent demand pull have facilitated the launch of residential polypropylene collection and helped sustain it. So as I mentioned, your products prove that recycled materials can produce a superior product. But there are always challenges to face in the recycling world. What are some of the hurdles you've had to overcome during your time at KW?
Well, I think the biggest thing is building a process that is capable of handling that material. And when I say that is we go into it knowing that we're going to be made out of 100% recycled material, less the additives, the carbon black and the impact modifiers that we put in it. So we're really making a virgin pellet again, but you are really taking a lot of different feed streams and what we call sort of like chicken salad and making it into a pellet. Those things gas different. They react different than a virgin pellet, even though you can't see the difference. Building the molds and building the process around knowing you're going to be doing that is really important. When I first started here 18 years ago, we modified almost all the molds we had, opening the vents up to allow the gas to escape and things like that. And I think that's what everybody gets into when they try to be in it with 25% or 50% or something like that, because, you're now mixing two materials together, even though they're both the same melt polypropylene. That really, it's a lot easier to be 100% in one or the other. And we want you to be 100% in the recycled, right? And there are ways to do that. And we do go out and help our recycling sisters. We go to some of their customers and help them get set up in using recycled material. But I think the biggest thing is designing yourself into it. And when these customers have new programs coming on, new projects, we like to get in at that level. And then we can really design them into using 100% recycled material.
Right. We always talk about design for recyclability, but you also, of course, have to consider design for PCR utilization. There are, as you mentioned, lots of modifications in the process if you're going to use recycled content versus virgin. So important things to consider, and also great to hear that you go into those companies and help them recognize these different modifications and get them all set up.
Yeah, I think that's a big advantage of ours. I mean, I think that the recycling side of our business, having a sister company that uses, during our peak during COVID, we used 90 million pounds of that polypropylene material through our processes. We probably average 65 to 70 million on a normal year, but there's a lot of experience there. Everybody here came from the virgin market at some point in time, right? We had to learn. And, 18 years ago, we did that.
Lots of different modifications over the years, lots of different products that you have produced. What's your latest innovation and what are some of the challenges it solves for your customers?
Well, the latest thing we have right now is that sample jar. And the easiest way to think about this, if you go to the store and you see a white sample jar on the shelf, if you open the cap on that, it's got this little foam insert on the inside of the cap. So if you think about when Coke first come out in a plastic bottle, when you took the cap off of a Coke bottle, there was this little rubber insert up in there. Same thing within a water bottle. Well, that industry went away from that when they put what we call a wiper seal up there. We went out and developed a sample jar can for the paint industry that enabled them to remove that white foam insert up in that cap. Well, what does that do? That makes that jar now recyclable as is, right? Because you don't have to worry about taking that insert out to throw it in and recycle it. We're always looking for new innovations to use our material in a paint application. We're going to get into paint trays. We're going to get into a lot of different things as far as where we can take our material. It's summertime, so if you look and you go to the garden section of Home Depot or Lowe's and you see a Bonnie plant black pot in there, we're looking at those things right now. So we're looking at a lot of different avenues that enables us to use our own resin.
We'll be seeing more KW products on our shelves at Home Depot, Lowe's, and other home improvement stores.
That's the goal.
KW has been doing this at scale for quite some time, but unfortunately, many companies still hold back from manufacturing products with recycled content. What do you think is needed to increase the utilization of PCR to create a sustainable business for recyclers?
Well, I think it's a paradigm shift, right? I mean, I think that I had it, right? I can speak on it because when I came out of the virgin market to work at KW, I had the same paradigm as that market has, because we've all used, if you come from an injection molding environment where 20 years ago it was a hot runner system, we've all used our own regrind back into our process, right? And that's what we think of when we think of PCR, but that's not what it is. I mean, PCR, it really is a virgin pellet. We're taking all that stuff, we measure it, we get a 3 melt, a 5 melt, a 10 melt, we mix it all together, we make a 10 or a 12 melt out of it. and we make a virgin pellet out of it with impact modifiers. And I think that's the paradigm we have to shift. I mean, because the whole market thinks about regrind with all the stuff that comes with that, with fines in it and all the stuff that hurts your process. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to get over. One of the key questions we get is there enough material out there if we do make the switch, right? If we make the switch and we go to PCR, because some of those modifications I was speaking about earlier, you can't go back. I mean, you're not going to go back to running virgin material. It becomes a whole thing. We got to make sure we got enough feed stream, make sure we're recycling enough material to supply the marketplace. And I think once you get over those hurdles, there's nothing holding us back.
Right. Definitely a paradigm shift. And I'm glad you mentioned the supply of material. But if companies will make that commitment, the market will follow through. We will collect more material if we can sign long-term contracts, if we know that companies are making that commitment to use PCR in their products, we can make it happen. We know that a lot of our recyclers out there, including KW, aren't even processing as much material as they could be. They have the capacity to recycle more material in the United States. But right now, where if we don't have those commitments, we aren't producing that material. Definitely a paradigm shift across a lot of different things that would make more companies utilize PCR in their packaging and other products.
It's funny you bring that up because that's really how our True Snap or our all plastic gallon can got launched. It got launched at the level it is today during COVID because we were the only one that could supply plastic. Our supply of plastic is what enabled that can to get launched in the marketplace and get away from that hybrid can. We have gained a lot in that aspect. They understand that even if something like that happens, like the pandemic, and you can't get virgin material, we're still going to generate scrap, and scrap's just still going to generate material. We didn't have any problem. We're literally like turning the light switch on your wall. We went from using 60 to 65 million to 90 million in that year and had no problem with increasing 30 million pounds of our materials. I think that's correct. I mean, I think once we switch and get people using it, they understand that we're not going to run out of material, right? If you sign a long-term contract and you want the material, we'll make it happen.
Right. Make that commitment, sign a long-term contract. And then, of course, policy is coming around too that will force companies' hands a little bit more on that front as well. Hopefully, we'll be continuing to see more and more PCR utilization in products going forward. Any advice for brands or packaging suppliers to find the quality and quantity of PCR that they're looking for? This is just kind of an extension of what we were just talking about. Any other tips there for them to find the quality and the quantity?
You could take anything from the case you buy your DeWalt tools in, or if you go in there. And I think the other paradigm we got to change is you can only get recycled material in black. That's been something else that's been out there. And we now have gray. We now have white. We have a color separator that's coming on. I think as this market expands and we can, we got two shades of gray. We got a light gray and a darker gray, right? And I think that as the recycling market expands into different colors like that, that's going to help with the products. Like the sample jar I just talked about. When we developed that sample jar, we couldn't have provided you a white in that jar, but we can today. If you want a gray one, we'll do you a gray one. If you want a white one, we'll do you a white one. And I think that's going to help this market out a lot. The other paradigm we've always had, we can get you whatever, but it has to be black, right? I think as that market switches, that'll help out a lot too. Just let them look at the product and ask the question, can we use recycled material in this product? And if it comes back yes, then we can help them out.
Right. And develop products that are recyclable, that can be recycled again and go back into those products. It all goes back to that full circle that you were talking about before. What's next for KW? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to?
Well, I think next for KW is just our continued growth. How do we continue to help this market grow? I'm not just talking about containers. I'm talking about the recycle market. How do we continue to grow? We just have meetings this week. We've got plenty of material on hand, right? I mean, we got silos full of materials. How do we continue to innovate? And then how do we get out in the marketplace and continue to grow our PCR business? We're excited about doing that. I think right now the economy is sort of in a lull at that, and it's a good time for us to strike. Everybody's looking for cost improvements. Everybody's looking for cost downs, and I think this is our time. And we're excited about the new white product to come out. We're excited about all of our innovations.
Great to hear. Finally, to wrap up today, any advice for our listeners or those that might be new to the plastics industry or the recycling industry? Thinking back on your over 30 years of experience, what are some tips you could give to those who are new?
I think the biggest tip that I would get is, because back when I started here, I wouldn't call myself an old guy in the industry, but I am today, right? I mean, and when I came in here, is that paradigm really held me back. When I came in here, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out of 100% recycled material. The advice I'd give is, none of us like change. It's just something we don't like. But it's time, and we can help them through that change through our experience, right? Experience is the best knowledge. That's my advice. Pick a product, call us. We'll be happy to work you through it. And on both sides, we won't just sell you the material, right? We're not just a resin supplier. We're not just a PCR. We close the loop for you. We can help you with the molding side of that process.
Yes, fully closed loop. I like what you mentioned about change. People don't always want to change, but if we're going to grow, and our industry certainly has a lot of room for growth, we have to accept that change.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much to Darren for joining us today. And thanks to everyone for listening. For more information about the APR Recycling Leadership Awards or the APR Design Guide and much more, visit the APR website at plasticsrecycling.org. Check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X at APR Recycles. You can find recycled content wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and review.
This podcast was recorded in the studios of
Policy Resolution Group, Washington, D.C.